Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name's Chase Maddox. We are going to learn some awesome chord vocabulary from Wes Montgomery today. I am in the new studio. We will do a full studio tour of what this looks like because it's going to be pretty cool. You can see a little bit of the setup right here, but once I get everything set up, I'll do a whole studio tour so you guys can check it out. Today though, we're focused on Wes Montgomery, and I want to look specifically at his drop 2 voicings, and I'm going to assume a little bit of knowledge from you guys on drop 2s. I'll go over them real quick. So drop 2s are a type of chord voicing, arrangement of notes for the chord, based on what we call a closed voicing. So a closed voicing in general are very hard to do on guitar. So closed voicing is when you have all the notes as close or closed as possible. So an example for G minor 7 would be like G, B flat, D, and F. You can see my hands already starting to get pretty spread out. It turns out that closed voicings are the easiest on piano because they're very close, and then on guitar that means they're very spread apart because of the way we have our strings. So instead of playing all our voicings like this, because that'd be difficult, we take our second highest note from the top and we drop it. So that's where the drop 2 terminology comes from. We're dropping the second highest note. We drop it an octave. If you have a drop 3, you're dropping the third highest note an octave. And there's another type called drop 2 and 4, which you're dropping the second and fourth note an octave. So we're looking at drop 2s. These are very common guitar chords. So let's take a look at this for G minor 7. And we're gonna look at this G minor 7, and then these inversions, these drop 2 chords for G minor 7. And then what we're going to mix in there, since that's just for G, B flat, D, and F, we're going to add in a diminished voicing, which will act as our D7 flat 9, basically our 5 dominant sound. And when we put these together, we can create basically a scale, a melodic scale. This is one of the things Barry Harris is really well known for. You guys are pretty familiar with that. And what that sounds like is this. So we start with our diminished voicing. You can think about this as like F sharp diminished 7, or I like to think about it like a D7 flat 9 without the root. Then we go to a G minor 7 voicing. We go to a diminished voicing, G minor 7, diminished. And I notate this in the free PDF below. You guys can download. I made this whole PDF free because you guys were supporting my latest book. So that's our basis, right? We're going to be using these voicings, these G minor 7 ones, and then these diminished. And together, we're going to get some chord vocabulary. So let's look at how Wes uses that basic foundation to create some really interesting things. So our first example is this. So we'll start off, I'll count it off, and then I'll play it, and then we'll talk about it. 3, 4, 1. Couple things I want to point out here. One interesting one is that when Wes plays as part of these chord solos, which he's known for doing in the later parts of his solo, when he plays this type of G minor 7, drop 2, a lot of times he actually doesn't play that F as part of that. He just uses this 3-note shape, basically just G minor triad. So that's one thing to point out. The other thing is when we go up and he wants to use this note C melodically, right? That's the melody he's creating here. Instead of using that D7 flat 9 like we were just talking about, he just moves up his G minor 7 voicing to an A minor 7 voicing. And so you'll see that a lot as well throughout these examples. That when it comes to the notes not in the chord, so not G, B flat, D, or F, whether that's F sharp, A, C, or E flat, a lot of times with the A and the C, Wes will instead use the same voicing, just moved up. So G minor to A minor, G minor to A minor. That's another thing to watch out for. And then the last thing is on this type of voicing, when he's sliding into it and doing the 8th note and 16th notes, I like to use a down, down, up, down. And again, remember, Wes is using his thumb for this. So that obviously changes things, but if we're using a pick, I'd I'd practice it slow with the down and then down up. So you have the 2 downs in a row. I found that to be the best. Actually, one more thing is, for all of these examples, really take note of how Wes's melody for these chords and the rhythm are really clear. They're very exact, and that's one big thing we can apply to our chord soloing overall. Is if you're struggling with this type of concept, make sure that you're having a very clear melodic and rhythmic intent, both of those things. Okay, so that's the first example. Let's take a look at example 2. This one's great because Wes is combining both what I said about G minor and A minor, and even doing some sidestepping with F sharp minor, and then throwing in the D7 flat 9 diminished stuff. So let's take a listen first. So 1, 2. 1, 2. So what's he doing? We have G minor, A minor, remember, with just the 3-note voicings, and then G minor and A minor. Here is sneaky. He plays this F sharp minor 7 drop 2 to lead into G minor. So the melody we get is 1, 2. Right? And then this time, going from A to C, he is using the diminished chords. One thing I forgot, the previous example, that's from Wes Montgomery's solo on Bumpin' on Sunset, and then this one is just from the song Bumpin'. So 2 different songs with very similar names. So on this D7 flat 9 portion, this little enclosure to the G minor is something that's really common, and in the PDF I gave you a bunch of exercises to practice this. So like this kind of thing, and then also in reverse. You want to be very comfortable with those kind of foundational movements for these 2 chord voicings. All right, so that one's really nice. We incorporate that concept of not only the G minor, A minor, but chromaticism from F sharp minor in, and then also the D7 flat 9. So you have a lot of options on some of these chord tones. It's not just like one chord voicing if you're on that note. For this third example, this is similar to something that Wes plays on Bumpin', and it applies as almost a variation of what we just did. It sounds like this. 2 things I want you guys to get from this example. The first one is this sliding up, and we do really want it to sound like all of those notes are hitting, like not just a full slide. We want to hear da ya, and so that's why I included this part. And then the other thing is, we want to make sure we know our drop 2s not just on this first string set of strings 1 to 4. We want to make sure we also know them on strings, 2 to 5 and 3 to 6. So going to this drop 2 voicing for G minor is nice. You also have it here, but that has the open string, which might not be what we're looking for. So you want to be comfortable with these drop 2 voicings across the neck in different positions by string set. And I break that down in the free PDF below. A bunch of different ways to practice it, by position, by voicing type, and by melody note. So that'll give you guys a good workout for that. For example 4, we're looking at this chord solo that comes from part of West Coast Blues. Again, let's focus on the melody Wes is creating here. So the melody Wes creates is this. And then he's harmonizing that with these chords. 3, 4, 1. So again, we have a lot of quick movement here. If we break it down into the different elements, that's what is important to practice, not necessarily just this full thing if it's hard for you at first. So just practicing this skip, and then that coming back up. You want to break down each melodic cell and then work them together. That's the best way to practice these kind of phrases overall, not just jumping in and trying to play the whole line over and over again until you get it. All right, and this last example comes from Wes Montgomery on Naptown Blues. Another interesting way he's using chromaticism. It's a little tricky to do at first, but we'll dive into it. So it sounds like this. 3, 4. So we start off with that G minor 7 drop 2, move down chromatic and back, A minor, chromatic and back, G minor again, then to the F sharp diminished or the D7 flat 9, chromatic and back, G minor again, D7 flat 9. We could keep going with this, and then back to G minor. All right, at this section, Wes is doing a bunch of other stuff as well with augmented chords, which is a little bit beyond the scope of this lesson. But I really just wanted to give you guys some cool chord vocab to throw in there a la Wes Montgomery, and some interesting ways of practicing this. What I would also recommend, beyond just what I included in the PDF as exercises, is come up with simple melodies on your own, say in G minor, and then harmonize chords to that. So say we have like, so say it's just that. Then I want to play the chords that would fit over that melody. And if you're hearing the melody first and then trying to fit the chords, it'll come out more naturally and you'll get more used to it. Also, you can practice it with your thumb too. I find the tone is a lot better doing it that way, but since I'm mainly playing with a pick, I tend to just practice it with the pick. All right, guys, let me know in the comments what other topics you'd like me to tackle, and thanks for sticking around till the end. Appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next lesson.